What is going on, everybody else? Kind of a late, warm evening in the fall here, and a couple of people have been asking me about plantar fasciitis. So it's kind of pain in the bottom of the foot. Happens a lot with people with flat feet, but it can be any number of people. And so for the sequence today, we're going to be exploring how the foot relates to the pelvis and the rest of the chain along the leg. And so for that, you're going to need a ball of some kind. So you can use a tennis ball, you can use a hard rubber ball or a lacrosse ball like this. I know some people who use baseballs. If you have a spiky ball, it doesn't have to be this spiky, it can be a little bumpy. Just little teeny tiny bumps on it, that will also be useful. Marbles would also be a good call as well. So you need either one of those and a strap and probably a piece of wall space. So let's get to it. So first thing you're gonna do is pick whichever ball you want. I'm gonna use the spiky ball at first. And so you're just gonna roll out the bottom of the feet and notice how that feels. Right, and so if that's super painful for you, then you probably wanna stop doing this. But if it feels like a good massage, then you can continue with all of that. And you just kind of want to rub out the bottom of the feet generally. It's kind of a nice spread and switch back and forth between both feet as you are ready. This whole sequence will take probably 10 minutes. Nothing terribly long. And then once you have kind of that initial phase of the rolling done, I'm going to switch to the non-bumpy ball for this part because this part can be intense. You're going to place the ball underneath the ball of the foot, so that area just behind the toes, right? And you're going to press your weight down there and you're going to try to grab the ball with the toes as if you're trying to pick it up, right? Except you're not lifting the foot off the ground. You're just stretching through the top of the foot. Just notice how that feels, right? And if that's painful, see if you can just move the toes up and down. If that's painful, then just continue with the rolling. And if that's painful, stop and sit down some more. We'll get to some more stuff later on that you can have access to. So just doing that a couple times, lifting and lowering the toes, trying to grab the ball, and then move the toe towards the arch of the foot, and spreading those toes down, lifting those toes up, toes come down, lifting up. So we just want to do this at first to kind of loosen up the bottom end of the fascial chain. So switching feet, so placing that ball on the ball of the foot, that space right behind the toes, the knuckles, and then grabbing with the toes, lifting up with the toes, grabbing the toes, lifting up with the toes. Just repeating that to your heart's content. And notice if there's tension that builds anywhere else along the chain as you do this, because that might be an indication of someplace where you might be stuck. Because sometimes, just because we have pain in one area, could be related to tension or stuckness in another area. Yeah. So once all that's done, those of you who were hurt by the ball on the foot, try this out. So you're going to take the ball against the wall. Ball's going to go in the glute. And you're just going to roll back and forth. We're just loosening up some of the butt muscles. From the glute max, glute med, just rolling all through the side. You're mostly just staying on one side for now. You can kind of go into little hip circles like this. And so the reason why we're doing kind of the opposite end of the foot, although not complete opposite end of the body, is a lot of times stuff gets stuck here. You know, your hips are kind of the highway, the overpasses between what happens at the top of the body and the lower body. And so if we can help relieve some tension here, help things to function a little bit better, go ahead and switch sides, then things might, then the feelings that we have from the hips and down may improve to something that's more to our liking. So just making sure that you're kind of moving in a way that feels good. If there's a spot that feels like there's like a knot or something, you can press into that for a moment, maybe lean in, but you also don't want to dig here, right? You shouldn't be doing any self-digging in your muscles, because that usually never works out well. So just always kind of light, easy strokes. And then coming off the wall for a moment and just seeing how all that feels. And just notice how all that affected you. And as with everything, just notice the breath. Notice how it feels to have your feet on the ground. Notice if you're clenching in the glutes, your thighs, your calves. Do things feel easy and mobile as you stand? Or are you holding tension somewhere? Just allow yourself to breathe. Cool, shaking things out. And let's lay down. Let's put our legs up the wall. So, easiest way is like this. Okay. And so I like to be a little bit further away from the wall because if my butt's too close to the wall, then that's a super intense stretch for me that I can't hang on to for very long. So if you need to, distance yourself a bit from the wall so you can let everything rest and settle down. And take a couple of deep breaths. And so we do the breath work and the relaxation part, one, because relaxing always feels nice, but we want to identify with the part of us that is the observer, right? Sometimes pain can be so intense that we start to identify with the pain, and that can create a little bit of fog on our lens because we start to identify so strongly with in pain or out of pain. And when we identify with more of the observer of pain, then we can better figure out and better choose which stimulus applies more directly to us. And so taking these deep breaths can help us to access that state of observation. Now, if this is difficult for you, you can come a little bit further off the wall, or you can even bend through the legs here, so that way the feet are flat against the wall and the knees are bent. And so no matter where you are, if the legs are extended or if the knees are bent, no matter what, you can lift the toes up, and then you can bring the toes down and lift the heels up. Right, if your legs are extended, then you're pulling the toes back or pointing the toes forward. Either way, no matter where you are, just exploring that flexion and extension of the ankle. Just notice how that affects the rest of the leg. Notice if there's any effect at the bottom of the foot. And coming back down. Maybe you want to play with both of them. Maybe you want to have the legs extended, and then maybe you want to try it with the knees bent, because it is a different sensation both times. Good. So from here, for those of you that are comfortable with the legs extended, go ahead and extend them. Just play with the toes a little bit. And we're going to take the right leg, and we're going to cross the right ankle on top of the left ankle. And then we're going to play with some external rotation of the hip here. So we're just going to let that leg rotate. So even though the ankles are connected, we're just going to play with this opening and closing motion. We're trying to get the knee to rotate a little bit more towards the wall. And actually, it's not so much the knee as it is the top of the leg bone, right? We want this motion to be coming from top of the leg bone. We don't want the knee moving independently. It actually can, and it's kind of frightening with some people because they can move it quite a bit. We just want to make sure that that leg bone is moving in the pelvis. If this is hard for you, it doesn't have to be a very big motion. Keep it nice and easy. If you find yourself stressing and straining over it, then it's probably a little bit too much for you. So make it easier, make it lighter. Don't go as far, don't push yourself as much. It does not take much to feel good. And then lifting the leg up, placing it back on the wall. Left ankle crosses over to the right. And just playing with that opening and closing motion on the left side. So feeling that left femoral head extending, not extending, but externally rotating towards the wall, and then coming back towards center. And as a result, the entire leg will twist. And again, the more we improve the function in these major areas like the hips and in the shoulders, the less pain we're going to experience further down the chain. But we want to make sure that things are functioning well here before we start going after a problem that may not necessarily be originating where the pain is. Right, and then that left leg goes back to the wall. Go ahead and bend through the knees. Just press into the wall gently, activating through the glutes for a moment. And taking a couple of deep breaths. Just reconnecting with the breath. All right. And then rolling over to one side. And then coming up to a seat. I'm just gonna turn around and face you all. So with the strap, what we're gonna do, and you can actually do this up against the wall. So if you're still in that position, go ahead and feel free to stay there. And what we're gonna do here is a very similar thing to what we did with the leg up the wall. The foot is going to go into the strap. You're going to lay back down, and the leg is going to shoot straight up towards the ceiling. And then that leg is going to externally rotate, and then internally rotate. You can actually play with a whole bunch of motions here. So you can do this external rotation or this internal rotation. You could even make circles with the leg. Pulling the leg back as far as it will go, but make sure you're not like pulling, just kind of think about pulling. And again, if you notice any pain or any tension, just let yourself be easy, stay in a range that's comfortable. And you can flex and you can point the foot here, but just be careful of that strap. Good. And then lifting the opposite leg up, threading it into the strap. And same thing on this side. So you can keep that knee bent, or you can extend through the leg, whichever feels most comfortable for you. And just swapping left to right. Rotating internally and externally. Maybe making circles with the leg. You may want to wiggle the toes as you do it. And let the leg drop down to the side, come back up. Whatever it is you feel like doing on this side, flexing and pointing the toe. Good. And then the legs come down. And let's come back up to standing as you are ready. Just noticing what you notice. Be easy coming up. Don't jump right up. Sometimes that can be a bit shocking and abrasive. And just notice what you notice from the hips down. Maybe even from the hips up. So just take a moment to stand there. And then enjoy the rest of your day.